The Florida State Seminoles are going to run past the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons why.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into another episode of Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. Thank you to everyone that makes this a great show. Please hit that like button, that notification bell, and share this podcast. We can be found wherever you get your podcast for free and on YouTube, part of the awesome Locked On Network, your team every day. So today's episode is going to be a quick and straight to the point prediction show. Going to be about 10 minutes, and this is all we're going to talk about. One main thing. Why Florida State's going to run the ball, do so successfully, and ultimately kind of quote-unquote run away. First off, the depth that Florida State has. They got Benson, they got Toafili, they got Hill, they got Keziah, they got CJ. The running back depth, and those last two, do not discount them. They're going to get some action in this game, in my opinion. That running back depth will wear down the front seven for Wake Forest. And here's the big thing. The play action game, as you note, if you can see it on YouTube, if that's what you're watching, is going to be key here. Wake Forest doesn't have the ability to just consistently man up on the outside or play cover 4, which is, a version of man defense, and just take away the passing game and still dive into the box. They're taking a lot of risk if they do that. More power to them if they want, but I doubt that would end well over time. And I'm sure Wake Forest knows that as well. Therefore, Florida State will run the ball a little bit more than they might normally do, RPOs, etc. But when they draw them in, they can go over the top. Play action game doesn't have to be bombs away all the time either. Deep in routes, opportunities with seam, and opportunities with just a shallow cross. They're wide open, and it's play action, man. You can still hit a 40-yard play real quick. Finally, I just think it's speed. Florida State's going to have a lot of success with their speed in this game. In particular, in my pick for player of the game, Lawrence Toafili. One-on-one, he is not a lot of fun to tackle. Ask Syracuse, and then ask Duke. He had big touchdown runs in both games, one as an actual rush and the other one this past week against Duke on a screen. One-on-one, tackling him is not fun. As the game progresses, look for him to hit a pretty big play. It wouldn't be surprising if one of the other 4 running backs that I already mentioned joined the party. The other thing here is I think Florida State's starting to get kind of locked in. If you look at the Duke game, just from an overall standpoint, they struggled in the first quarter some. And hats off to Duke. They came out more ready than Florida State. But as time moved on, talent took over. Florida State gained more focus, wore down Duke. And then, of course, Duke's quarterback situation made it worse for them, and the floodgates wide open. Well, it's ironic. Wake Forest doesn't have the greatest quarterback situation because Sam Hartman's in South Bend. Their starting quarterback, Mitch Griffiths, has been banged up. I don't know his situation, but even if he does play, it's after coming out of a game last week, and they played their third string. I don't think that's going to go well. And if they start having short drives in a similar fashion, Florida State should be pretty much where they were last week against Duke late in the third quarter. Projection. Florida State will run for roughly 100 yards from the 5-minute mark in the third quarter through the end of the game. If you do that, it's going to be pretty hard to make ground up, and I expect Florida State to be up roughly 21-7 at half anyway. I don't think Wake Forest is going to move the ball consistently against the Noles. Every team has a couple of plays. It's college football. I get it. There could be a fumble, a scoop and score, whatever. They're going to struggle. Just my opinion. So overall, I think this is going to be a very difficult game for them. Florida State has more playmakers, and obviously Keon Coleman over the top, Keon Coleman screen, Keon Coleman reverse. Those kinds of things are just going to add to the fire. And I don't even think they're going to use Keon a ton because I think, again, Wake will roll coverage towards him, and they should. That'll open it up for Jaheim on seam pattern, screens, etc. Though that's going to be a problem. And then just power football. Look for the old guard and tackle pulling play, the gap play as they call it, or the H-back coming around with the guard, wham, kick out, and here comes the running back downhill. You can use play action off of that, some RPO, and don't be shocked if Jordan takes off a couple of times as well to add to the rushing totals. I'm guessing the Noles will go right around 220 for this game, but it'll be consistent until you get towards the latter part of the third quarter. And then I just don't think Wake Forest will have anything left. The Noles will roll in this one. So final score for me, I've got Florida State winning 45-20, and I think it would be a pretty convincing victory. That's all I have for today. Everybody have a great day. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.